John Deere is facing serious backlash after making a highly controversial decision that has angered many. Known as a cornerstone of American farming and agriculture, the company has recently been struggling. However, the steps it's taking to address its challenges are raising concerns, especially among those who rely on its equipment. So, what exactly did John Deere do, and how could this impact you, me, and the agricultural industry as a whole? One of the biggest issues is the company's decision to move key manufacturing operations to Mexico, a move that has caused widespread concern across the farming community. Specifically, John Deere is relocating the production of skid steers and compact track loaders from Dubuque, Iowa to Ramos Arizpe, Mexico. This isn't the first time they've done something like this. Back in 2022, they shifted tractor cab production to Mexico, citing difficulties in the labor market. They also plan to transfer the manufacturing of mid-frame skid steer loaders and compact track loaders to a Mexican facility by 2026. With these changes unfolding, many are questioning the future of American manufacturing and the jobs that depend on it. Let's break this down further, but before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. At the core of John Deere's relocation decision is a stark contrast in labor costs between the United States and Mexico. While American production managers often earn over $56 per hour, their Mexican counterparts make just $44.50 per hour. This significant wage gap is a major driver behind the company's move, allowing John Deere to cut manufacturing expenses and potentially boost profit margins. As the company aims to strengthen its financial standing, these decisions are sparking serious concerns about job security and economic stability in communities that rely heavily on these manufacturing jobs. The consequences of this shift have already been deeply felt. Since September 2023, John Deere has laid off more than 2,088 workers in Iowa and Illinois, with over 2,100 of those job losses tied directly to preparations for the 2024 production move. These layoffs have impacted not only factory employees, but also the local economies that depend on them for financial support. The effects are both immediate and devastating. John Deere has pointed to declining product demand and broader economic pressures as reasons for the cuts, citing a 20% drop in sales as a major factor. However, many employees and critics argue that the relocation of production is the true cause of the job losses. There's growing skepticism around the company's narrative, especially considering its record profits during this turbulent time. This disconnect between corporate gains and widespread layoffs has left many feeling frustrated and abandoned, particularly in communities where John Deere was once seen as a dependable pillar. In addition to relocating jobs and implementing layoffs, John Deere has introduced software locks on its machinery, a move that has significantly altered the farming landscape. These restrictions prevent farmers from making their own repairs, forcing them to rely exclusively on authorized John Deere dealers for maintenance. This marks a dramatic shift from the autonomy farmers once had over the upkeep of their equipment. The financial impact of this change is substantial. John Deere's parts and services division is reportedly 3 to 6 times more profitable than its new equipment sales. Critics argue that by locking down repair access, the company is creating a monopoly over its repair services, driving up costs for farmers who have no choice but to accept dealer pricing. This strategy has sparked widespread concern, as it not only erodes the independence of farmers, but also raises serious ethical questions about corporate priorities. Many feel that John Deere is prioritizing profits over customer support and accessibility. The consequences are especially severe for farmers who now face sky-high repair bills and long waits for authorized service, delays that can be devastating during crucial planting or harvesting periods. One farmer described losing 2.5 days of productivity while waiting for a dealer to resolve a simple software issue, an experience that's becoming more common as equipment grows more complex and reliant on digital systems. As agricultural machinery becomes increasingly sophisticated, farmers are feeling overwhelmed and under-equipped to deal with the technology embedded in their tools. The shift toward digital dependence is fueling a growing sense of vulnerability. Within the farming community, where practical skills and hands-on knowledge have traditionally been the backbone of success, this rising reliance on inaccessible systems is prompting urgent questions about the future of self-sufficiency in agriculture and the role corporations should play in supporting or limiting that independence. The anxiety among farmers is growing as their once mechanically simple tractors evolve into sophisticated machines driven by complex software. With this shift, many fear losing the independence they've long had in maintaining and repairing their own equipment. Relying on outside experts for even basic issues feels like a betrayal of the self-reliant spirit that has defined generations of American farmers. But this situation is no longer just a matter of convenience. It's now entangled in a storm of political and economic controversy. John Deere's decision to move part of its manufacturing operations to Mexico has triggered a wave of political backlash. Among the most vocal critics is former President Donald Trump, who has slammed the company for what he sees as a betrayal of American workers. In his signature bold style, Trump has threatened to impose a staggering 200% tariff on all John Deere products made in Mexico if the company proceeds with its relocation plans. The implications of such a move are huge. A tractor that currently sells for $100,000 could soar to $300,000, potentially sending shockwaves through the agricultural sector and beyond. During a recent policy roundtable in Pennsylvania, Trump accused John Deere of undermining American farmers and weakening the country's manufacturing base. His threat aligns with his long-standing America First agenda, which emphasizes protecting U.S. jobs and industries from the risks of outsourcing. Trump's message is clear. If John Deere continues down this path, the financial repercussions could be severe enough to threaten its competitiveness in the American market. John Deere, for its part, has responded by standing firm. The company says its decisions are driven by economic realities, not political pressure. It also highlights its ongoing commitment to U.S. manufacturing, maintaining around 30,000 employees across 60 domestic facilities. Still, the company cannot ignore the growing tension as the threat of tariffs hangs heavy over an already delicate situation. This political firestorm is set against a broader backdrop of global trade complexities and local economic challenges. Trump's use of tariffs as a tool of economic protectionism has become a defining feature of his political strategy. But many experts warn that such aggressive measures could backfire. While intended to protect American jobs, they could end up hurting the very farmers they aim to support by making essential equipment unaffordable. Tariffs could also unintentionally open the door for foreign competitors to gain a stronger foothold in the U.S. market. Adding to the controversy is Senator Elizabeth Warren, who has taken aim at John Deere for its stance on the right to repair. She argues that the company's refusal to allow farmers access to the tools and information needed to fix their own machines is not only unfair, but may even violate the Clean Air Act by preventing timely repairs to emission systems. Warren's criticism reflects a growing frustration among rural communities who feel increasingly powerless against large corporations. For many farmers, the right to repair is not just about convenience. It's a matter of financial survival and self-sufficiency. By restricting repair access, John Deere is seen by many as prioritizing profits over the needs of the very people who rely on their machines the most. This perception is fueling resentment, especially as farmers face mounting financial pressure and tight margins. The inability to repair their own equipment without costly dealer intervention is not only expensive, but often leads to long delays that can cripple productivity during critical farming seasons. As the backlash grows, John Deere finds itself at the center of a national debate over corporate accountability, economic policy, and the future of American farming. The heated debate over Trump's proposed tariff on John Deere has sparked a wide range of reactions across the political spectrum. Supporters argue that these tariffs are a necessary tool to protect American jobs and to hold companies accountable for shifting production abroad. They see Trump's move as a bold, proactive stance against outsourcing, one that could prevent further erosion of the domestic manufacturing base and safeguard the livelihoods of countless workers. On the other hand, critics, including billionaire entrepreneur Mark Cuban, warn that such aggressive tariffs could have unintended and damaging consequences. Cuban has voiced strong concerns that imposing a 200% tariff would open the door for foreign competitors to swoop in and claim market share from American companies like John Deere. He's described the strategy as insane, arguing that it could cause prices to skyrocket for consumers while failing to address the deeper, systemic issues facing U.S. manufacturing. But beyond the political theatrics, what does this really mean for American farmers? At the heart of the matter is a much larger and more personal fight, one that centers around the growing momentum of the right to repair movement. This grassroots campaign, fueled by John Deere's controversial software locks and repair restrictions, has become a powerful symbol of the struggle for independence in modern agriculture. For farmers, this isn't just about fixing machinery. It's about regaining control over the very tools that support their livelihoods. Imagine owning a $500,000 piece of equipment and not being able to repair or modify it without paying a dealer and waiting days for a technician. For many farmers, this is more than an inconvenience. It's an affront to their autonomy. As corporate control tightens and technology becomes more embedded in every aspect of farming, the backlash is intensifying. Farmers are no longer passively accepting the situation. They're fighting back with unprecedented determination. Many are taking their frustrations to state legislatures and the courts. They're filing lawsuits, lobbying for right to repair laws, and in some cases, even hacking their own tractors to bypass the digital locks installed by manufacturers. These acts of defiance reflect a deep-seated desire to reclaim self-sufficiency. A striking example of this resistance was seen at the DEF CON Security Conference, where a hacker known as Sick Codes demonstrated a jailbreak for John Deere tractors. This hack gave farmers full root access to their machinery, enabling them to repair and modify it without corporate interference, an act that resonated deeply across the farming community. In response to this growing unrest, several states have begun passing legislation aimed at dismantling the restrictions that companies like John Deere have put in place. Colorado, for instance, has become a leader in this space, enacting a law that forces manufacturers to provide farmers with the necessary tools, software, and documentation to repair their equipment. However, these legislative victories are often met with fierce opposition from powerful manufacturers who argue that allowing independent repairs could jeopardize safety and environmental compliance. Despite these roadblocks, the momentum behind the right to repair movement continues to build. Advocacy groups are mobilizing support, pushing for nationwide reforms that would prevent companies from monopolizing the repair process. The stakes are enormous. If these efforts succeed, they could redefine the relationship between consumers and manufacturers, not only in agriculture, but across industries. Meanwhile, the battle has also entered the courtroom. One high-profile case, Forest River Farms versus Deere & Company, illustrates the broader legal war being waged over repair rights. In this case, a North Dakota farm accuses John Deere of violating antitrust laws by monopolizing the repair market, making it difficult, if not impossible, for farmers to fix their own machinery affordably. This lawsuit represents a pivotal challenge to corporate practices that limit consumer choice and inflate repair costs, highlighting just how far-reaching and critical this issue has become. The frustration among farmers is running deep, and the ongoing legal battles are pulling back the curtain on systemic issues in the agricultural equipment industry, issues that extend far beyond just machinery. These lawsuits have become a focal point in the broader conversation about consumer rights in an increasingly digital world, where complex technology governs the tools we depend on. For rural America, the outcomes of these proceedings could set powerful precedents about who truly owns and controls the equipment that keeps farms running. Financially, the burden on farmers is staggering. With profit margins already razor-thin, John Deere's restrictive repair policies are compounding an already tough situation. Soaring equipment prices and high repair fees have created a perfect storm. According to the USDA, farm incomes could drop by as much as 25% this year due to rising operational costs, many of which are driven by limited access to affordable repair options. These financial pressures aren't just threatening individual farms. They're putting entire rural communities at risk. The potential loss of small farms could lead to further consolidation in the agriculture sector, weakening food system diversity and eroding the community fabric that rural areas rely on. The fallout doesn't stop there. Independent repair shops, which are often small businesses and major employers in rural towns, are being squeezed out as farmers are forced to rely solely on authorized John Deere service providers. This kind of repair monopoly creates a ripple effect, leading to job losses, reduced competition, and a growing sense that small towns are being left behind in favor of corporate interests. But can this problem actually be solved? That's a complicated question, especially given the conflicting narratives coming out of John Deere itself. On one hand, the company is reporting enormous profits. In 2023, John Deere posted a record-breaking $10.1 billion in profit, a 42% jump from the previous year. On paper, the company is thriving. But at the same time, it's laying off thousands of workers. Over 1,500 employees across Iowa and Illinois were let go during the same period. It's a contradiction that's hard to ignore. The optics of this are troubling. Critics, including the United Auto Workers, UAW, have slammed the layoffs as a blatant example of prioritizing shareholder value over worker welfare. They argue that with profits this high, there's no reasonable excuse for cutting jobs or outsourcing production to Mexico for cheaper labor. To them, it feels like a slap in the face to the very people who helped build the brand into what it is today. What's making matters worse is the ballooning pay package of John Deere's CEO, John May. In 2023, he received $26.7 million in compensation, up from $20.3 million a year before. That kind of raise, during a time of mass layoffs and economic uncertainty in farming communities, sends a very clear message to critics. Profits come first. For many employees and observers, the gap between executive rewards and worker realities is becoming too wide to ignore, and it's fueling a sense of betrayal. Ultimately, the situation surrounding John Deere is a flashpoint in a much larger debate about corporate responsibility, worker rights, and the future of farming in America. The decisions made now, by lawmakers, by courts, and by John Deere itself, will shape the industry for years to come. Whether that future empowers farmers or further entrenches corporate control is still very much up in the air. This unfortunate situation highlights a deep and troubling disconnect between corporate leadership and the very workers who fuel the company's success. The UAW is right to call it out. Executive bonuses in the tens of millions and $7.2 billion in stock. Buybacks in 2023 alone paint a picture of a company more focused on shareholder returns than the long-term well-being of its workforce or customers. This isn't just about John Deere. It's a microcosm of a much larger trend across corporate America, a shift where profits are prioritized over people, and where everyday consumers, workers, and even entire communities are left behind. It's happening in farming, in tech, in automotive, everywhere. Companies are locking down their products, embedding them with proprietary software, and making it increasingly difficult, or even illegal, for us to repair or modify the things we own. This isn't just a headache. It's a growing threat to consumer freedom and economic resilience. What's happening with John Deere is the canary in the coal mine. And let's be honest, farming isn't what it used to be. It's no longer just about tractors and soil. It's software, diagnostics, and data. Farmers today need to be part mechanic, part coder, part business strategist. The question is, are we making life easier for them, or harder? John Deere's choice to reward shareholders while laying off workers and restricting repairs has raised serious ethical and practical questions. Questions that all of us, consumers, voters, policymakers, need to start asking. Because this isn't just about farm equipment. It's about the kind of future we want. Do we allow corporations to hold all the cards? Or do we stand up and reclaim our rights to repair, to own, and to innovate? The right to repair movement isn't going away, it's gaining steam. And now is the time to decide. Are we going to sit back while massive corporations build walls around the things we buy? Or are we going to take action? So, what do you think? Is John Deere going too far? Are we witnessing the slow erosion of ownership and independence, or can we still turn this around? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This conversation matters. And if you found this video insightful, give it a like, share it, and subscribe for more breakdowns on the forces reshaping our industries, our communities, and our future. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.